Assalomu alaykum barchaga yana bir bor. Bugun biz ana shu Buyuk Britaniyaning Potsmouth shahridamiz va bugun Potsmouth University'da bir qancha muddat mehmon bo'lib turibmiz. Bugungi bizni suhbatdoshimiz universitet professorlaridan biri Miss Carmen. Uh, Good morning, Miss Carmen.
Hi, how are you?
I hope you are doing well.
I'm fine, thank you.
I really appreciate the opportunity to meet with you today.
Yeah,
And if you don't mind, I would like to ask some questions as well.
of course.
First of all, before beginning, could you tell us about yourself and also your studying period and career as well?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so my name is Carmen Paraman, and I'm a senior lecturer in Spanish and interpreting here at the University of Portsmouth. And so I studied in Spain, so that's where I'm from. I studied in the University of Granada, and I studied translation and interpreting. And my languages were English, French, and Spanish as my mother tongue. I specialized in conference interpreting, which is what I teach here. After graduating, I then did an MA in language teaching because I also had a passion about teaching languages. So, and then I started using both. So I teach English, I teach Spanish, but I also teach interpreting, and I've also worked as an interpreter professionally myself. And these days, well, I work at the University of Portsmouth. I've been here for 11 years now.
Wow.
So a long time in this department, in the School of Languages. And I've taught all levels of Spanish, from beginners to advanced, and conference interpreting as we're doing here today.
Great. Yes. Which moments have you frustrated you the most during that period? I mean, the career, maybe studying period as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't say frustrated, but probably the hardest bit is the working on your languages and making sure you develop a very good command of your languages, because to become a translator or to become an interpreter, you have to have a very good command of your languages.
Sure.
So particularly if you want to be an interpreter, you have to have a very good, obviously, spoken command of your English or your Spanish or whichever your working languages are. And obviously that requires a lot of work and a lot of repetition and a lot of hours, practice, as we always say. So probably that's the hardest bit of it. But once you get to a level where you feel comfortable and you can enjoy interpreting and translating, then it is very rewarding.
You know, it's really interesting to know about why did you choose maybe the job of interpreting?
I've always had a passion for languages. It's one of these things that in school I always enjoyed learning. English and French were the languages that we learn in Spain, in schools. And I was always very interested in just learning about the languages, but also a different culture, like how people live in different countries. And also all the opportunities that gives you to be able to travel, to talk to people from other countries, to explore. That led me to decide to study translation and interpreting, and it's just a decision that I'm very happy about.
How many languages can you speak fluently? Or how many do you know?
So my working languages are English and Spanish. I also studied French, which I can speak, and I can write in French as well. And my very, very passive language was Greek. So modern Greek I studied at university. I haven't used it in ages. So I wouldn't use it for interpreting purposes.
Let's talk about English language. What's more important in English language? Speaking, reading, writing, or listening?
Oh, well, all of the skills are very important. It depends on why you're studying a language for. So obviously, if a student is studying a language or English just to be able to travel or to understand a different culture, then obviously a focus on speaking is always very rewarding and useful. But as interpreters and translators, we need to master all four skills. It is very, very important, particularly as interpreters. Obviously, the listening and the speaking are very, very important. So the oral skills, but I would say that all four skills obviously play a very important role, and they all complement each other. So it's very difficult to learn them separately or independently. Absolutely.
And then how can native speakers improve their fluency in English language and also confidence as well?
Yeah, so that's such an important thing, and so practice is the key thing. And nowadays we're really lucky to have so many resources online. So students can access all sorts of films and TV shows and music and reading. So they can be reading in any area that they like. Yes, I would say just like finding what something that you like. So if you like cinema, then the cinema can be the tool that you use to learn your English and to improve your English. And by all means, trying to practice a language with native speakers or with speakers who are fluent. And again, there are so many apps online and so many obviously opportunities to talk to students who are also speakers of English and to practice with them, to get feedback from them, which is so important as well. So yeah, I guess it's all about immersing yourself in the language and practicing as much as you can.
Could you suggest us about the fear as well? How can you, sorry? Yes, about fear.
Fear. So yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. So definitely students always have the fear and of speaking in the language, isn't it? Because usually they're fine with the passive skills and in the sense of like they feel more protected. But I think it's all about understanding that we all make mistakes. So when we are learning a language, so understanding that that's part of the process, and we get better as we practice and as we improve. Obviously, we'll get better. But I think I always tell my students that they need to assume that they will make mistakes, and that the key thing is that they are communicating and that they are learning a language. So trying to work on that confidence. That is easy to say, but very difficult to do, though.
There are a lot of students who find writing quite difficult.
Yeah. I think writing sometimes it might be difficult because it's probably a skill that takes a lot of time to master. And also, it might not be as fun as speaking or listening. So obviously, some students will really like that interaction of speaking, but obviously you have to sit and write and look at. But I think it's all about practice again, and reading is really, really important to obviously master the writing. So I always encourage my students to read as much as they can, to read articles, to read all sorts of like sources that they can find online or in the books as well. But yeah, I can understand that sometimes writing can be quite tough, quite challenging.
Yes.
And the key thing is obviously to always look at the feedback that you receive when you're writing, so you know what you need to improve next time.
Yeah. Then the next one, what kind of techniques or exercise can help to increase speaking skills or communication skills as well?
Yeah, so loads of them. I mean, here in interpreting, we do loads of them. Shadowing is something that I really like for. So when we listen to a video or to a speaker and we actually repeat, it's like parroting really what the speaker is saying. But that really helps us with the speaking, with the fluency, with the pronunciation, which in English is such an important thing, isn't it? Because it has quite a difficult pronunciation of some words, really. So yes, shadowing is a skill that a tool that I really use with my students. I really recommend them to use them. But and also, as we said, like to listen to programs or shows that they like and try to mirror those people and to try to find people they can try to practice with.
Let's clarify, imitation and shadowing.
Yeah.
Are those the same?
They're very similar. So I would say they're not necessarily the same. So when you do shadowing, you don't necessarily need to be imitating. You don't need to be mirroring. But you could do them as the two tools together. Absolutely. But that's a really good question. No, they're not necessarily the same. So in shadowing, when we do shadowing and interpreting, it's all about rendering the same message, but we are not necessarily focusing that much in the language. But if we want to do shadowing for language purposes, then we could actually ask the students to actually imitate the speaker. Sure. And in that case, it is really helpful to focus in intonation and pronunciation.
And some teachers also suggest speaking with mirrors.
Yeah, absolutely. And recording yourself and then watch it, which is that's the hard part. I always tell my students that they have to record themselves and then they have loads of recordings there. It's about watching it. And I know it's painful sometimes when we watch ourselves, but we can actually be very critical and we can see what the mistakes are, what the good things are, what we're doing really well. We can look at our body language, expression. So absolutely, recording and using a mirror, really good skills.
Could you recommend some books and movies that can help to learn English faster?
I would say movies and books depend on the interest of the learner. I always tell my students to find whichever their interests are. There will always be, and definitely when we talk about English, there will always be a book and a film and a movie and a TV show. And so it's just really about ensuring that they enjoy the time they spend practicing the language and it becomes part of their routine. And they actually, at the end of the day, they will end up watching the movies in obviously the original version. And yeah, so.
What is the favorite book?
Oh my goodness. My favorite book, that's quite difficult, but a book that I really, really like and I've read a couple of times is, well, in English is 100 Years of Solitude, but it's from Gabriel García Márquez, so he's a Colombian writer. And it's a book that I always enjoy reading. Yeah.
Thank you. The last one, your wishes to Uzbek students.
Oh, my wishes to Uzbek students. Well, I wish them all the best in your learning, all the best in your degrees. And hopefully one day we'll see you here. So you will be most welcome in Portsmouth, and you're welcome to visit our facilities and come here and practice your English with us.
Yeah, sure. That's all the time we have, and it was such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, it was Miss Carmen from Portsmouth University, England. Thanks a lot.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.